Wouldn't it be nice to have several thought leaders in your industry know and love your brand? Start a podcast. Invite your industry's thought leaders to be guests on your show, and start reaping the benefits of having a network full of industry influencers. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to B2B Growth, a daily podcast for B2B leaders. We've interviewed names you've probably heard before, like Gary Vaynerchuk and Simon Sinek, but you've probably never heard from the majority of our guests. That's because the bulk of our interviews aren't with professional speakers and authors. Most of our guests are in the trenches leading sales and marketing teams. They're implementing strategy. They're experimenting with tactics. They're building the fastest growing B2B companies in the world. My name is James Carberry. I'm the founder of Sweetfish Media, a podcast agency for B2B brands, and I'm also one of the co-hosts of this show. When we're not interviewing sales and marketing leaders, you'll hear stories from behind the scenes of our own business. We'll share the ups and downs of our journey as we attempt to take over the world. Just kidding. Well, maybe. Let's get into the show.
Welcome back to the B2B Growth Show. I'm your host for today's episode, Logan Lyles with Sweetfish Media. I'm joined today by Nathan Ellering. He's the head of marketing at CoSchedule. Nathan, how you doing today besides cold in your neck of the woods, man?
It is cold in Fargo, North Dakota, but I am doing very well.
Awesome, man. We are excited to have you. You have seen some tremendous success in 4.5 years, growing the social following, your email list, and a number of other things we're going to get into in your time at CoSchedule, and really break those down into some lessons learned regarding organic content reach today. Before we do that, Nathan, for folks who aren't familiar with you, I'd love for you to take a second, share your background in marketing, kind of your journey thus far, and also what you and the team at CoSchedule are up to these days, man.
Yeah. Before CoSchedule, I was working at a larger enterprise for electrical distribution. So it couldn't be more different than working in at a marketing project management platform like CoSchedule. But that experience has served me really well here, actually. So I am the head of marketing at CoSchedule. And what that really means is that I help all of the very talented marketers here focus their efforts on helping provide value to marketing leaders, marketing directors to be able to have this marketing project management platform where they can see everything in one place. We know that that's a huge problem in marketing, and we aim to solve it. All this stuff around spreadsheets, to manage spreadsheets. You've got this one tool to do this, but you've got something else and everything's siloed off. CoSchedule is there to help you consolidate all of that, to have the visual, the mission control center for your marketing operations. So that's the story that I get to help bring to life with help from my team every single day. And I absolutely love what I do.
Yeah, awesome, man. I can hear it in your voice. And I love the way that you tell that story with that analogy of the mission control center. That's definitely a great visual. I'm a fan of any consolidation and any quick glance where you can see what you're doing and what you're doing next, even more importantly. So definitely a big fan of what you guys are doing, Nathan. So we're going to be talking about some specific tactics that you used and our listeners can learn from to build their organic reach, build their subscriber base, and ultimately build their audience in the niche that they are trying to serve. But I think we have to back up and ask this question: with as noisy as things are in digital these days, is organic content dead?
You know, I've heard this too, like content is dead, or the organic reach is down on everything. And I would say what marketers are doing wrong is that they're not figuring out a way to stand out from their competition. If you take a look at some of the things that we're doing in the marketing industry, so CoSchedule as selling a marketing tool to marketers, this is a very noisy industry. There was this infographic that was released earlier in 2018 that there's like 6,000 to 7,000 marketing tools. Every single day, CoSchedule's content marketers compete against 7,000 marketing blogs out there. Mm-hmm. And yet, despite all of that, we have found significant growth in organic reach. And it's because from the very beginning, we defined what we're calling a standard of performance for our content to make sure that it stands out.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, from some of the stats I saw, you guys have grown to 80,000 social followers, over 500,000 on your email subscriber list, and all of that in just 4.5 years. So obviously, you guys are doing some things right. Tell us a little bit about where you started with those clearly defined standards on your content from the get-go and how that helped you guys.
Yeah, there's this little framework from Brian Dean at Backlinko, and it is called the skyscraper technique. And there's a lot of different steps in this, but essentially what it is create better content than other people. And that sounds really simple to say it. It's another thing to execute upon that. So we grabbed and latched onto that concept, but we had to define what that meant for CoSchedule from a content marketing perspective so that we could have multiple different people work toward that same goal and everything that we ship being higher quality than our peers. So let's just go into an example here. If we wanted to cover the topic of, let's just say, marketing project management, we would look up everything that there was out there on page 1 of Google and figure out the areas that are currently missing, the gaps that aren't there, the pieces that are ranking but aren't comprehensive. And we would literally just write down, if we were searching for this and we wanted how-to content on it, how would we do it better? What would we want to know? And it wasn't about ranking for that term at that point. It was about how do we actually provide value and help people execute upon this, because that's actually what people want. So basically, it's trying to deliver on a promise that people make when they type a keyword into Google. And that standard of performance ended up being defined as keyword driven, focused on our audience, connected to our product, and comprehensiveness. That was the number one thing, comprehensiveness. If we just told the story in one blog post, so you didn't have to go back and forth and read 10 different ones to kind of piecemeal something together, we have served you something more valuable than anywhere else.
Yeah. So actually putting out content that not the search engines want, but that people would actually find valuable. Sounds pretty simple in concept, but can be, like you said, tough to execute in actual application, right?
Definitely. I would say the reason why no one does this is that we end up publishing blog posts that are as long as 14,000 words. Sometimes they're 3,000 words. Sometimes they're 8,000 words. They're as long as they need to be to cover the topic in a way that helps people solve a problem. One thing that we've done too is we've specifically went to market to target our blog as the number one how-to marketing blog in the world. We would not publish a blog post if it didn't live up to that name. And we became known for that. We didn't ever really say that out loud, but people started describing us as that. And it was awesome to see some of that internal stuff just by adhering to a standard of performance where we would not publish a piece if it didn't meet these qualifications. Really, we lived up to our mission.
Today's growth story revolves around search engine marketing. Delphix, a big data platform, had hired an agency to manage their Google ads a few years ago, but they weren't seeing the results they wanted to see. Being such a technical B2B solution, they set out to find a team that could take on their challenge. After countless proposals, they found the perfect fit: Directive Consulting, the B2B search marketing agency. In just 1 week after launching Directive's campaigns, Delphix saw their lead volume double and their cost per lead drop by 60%. I have a hunch that Directive can get these kind of results for you too. So head over to directiveconsulting.com and request a totally free custom proposal. That's directiveconsulting.com. All right, let's get back to this interview.
So going from there, once you're actually starting to drive traffic to the content that you're putting out, you're clearly defining your standards for the content that you want to put out. I love the way that you guys put that very succinctly. Where do you see a lot of people go wrong in building their subscriber base, even when they do have really good content?
I think it's really easy for marketers to kind of neglect the reason why someone would want to subscribe. On our blogs and on our websites, it's very easy to be like, subscribe to receive emails. Well, what do I get for it? What's the value in it for me?
Right.
And your blog or whatever you promise to share to them afterward, if it's not good stuff, why do I want to receive more? So honestly, just adhering to that standard performance really helped us to be like, well, if I want to subscribe to something, I know that the quality is just going to be just as good as this for all the pieces that they send me later on. So that was a big part of it. But one thing I see go wrong too is that you think of that in terms of a call to action that is one size fits all. Subscribe to our blog. Well, what we did differently at CoSchedule is we started treating our blog posts as the homepage of CoSchedule. We knew that whatever keywords we were targeting were bringing in more traffic collectively than our homepage. And if that's the case, what's the goal of a blog post? Well, we want to attract and convert so that we can nurture into paying customers, right? That's the goal of marketing overall. So we treated each blog post as the homepage of CoSchedule, and each blog post had a goal of turning that traffic into subscribers. And the way that we did that was by providing contextual content experiences for them to subscribe. What's the golden nugget when you want to read about marketing project management? How about we teach you how to execute that? And to do that, we give you a template that is editable and designed to be used in conjunction with the blog post. That's exactly what we did, but we did that 500 times over, 1,000 times over. Every single blog post has a piece in it that is contextually driven to help you execute upon what you set out to do. And ultimately, that's been really nice to connect back to the product as well, because if you're interested in doing some of these things, which we would only publish content around what we call our content core or close to our product, you can always do this, but it's easier to do it with a tool like CoSchedule. So that's how to make content work to actually sell.
I see a lot of sites that are not doing that. So I think that is fantastic advice, Nathan. When you are putting out good content, don't do all of that to get their attention, to get them to the bottom of that blog article, only to throw a generic call to action or a generic lead magnet. Make it very contextual to the person and the point in the buying cycle or the problem they're trying to solve that got them to the end of that blog article in the first place. I want to touch on something in this topic, and you touched on it earlier. You guys are putting out some phenomenally long form content. What is your thoughts on where our appetite is for short form versus long form content? Does it really depend on the buyer persona or the problem they're trying to solve, or the niche? Or do you think that we've convinced ourselves that people have shorter attention spans than they actually have? I'd love for you to touch on that a little bit, just because you guys have found some success with long form content, which also seems a little bit counterintuitive to what we hear a lot today.
Yeah, I think that's an amazing question and something that's super interesting to think on. As far as what the person wants, I would begin with the context of it. So if someone is searching for what is marketing project management and you decide to write something on that, just to answer that one question, I can pretty much guarantee you that you won't rank for it. What people actually want is what is marketing project management, and you should maybe answer that as part of a longer form piece, or maybe it's like a guide where that's one chapter of it attached to a homepage that is all about marketing project management or something like that. And what I would say is answer their question for sure, but a lot of times the longer form stuff will be able to provide more context into other things that they care about. And this is all things like, if you want to get the most out of organic search, this all plays nicely together. And I think the whole time you do have to think about the person's experience. It's like, they're looking for that one nugget of information. If they're like Googling for a stat, sure, give them that stat, but also explain the why and explain more behind it. What to do with that stat maybe is important, right? So I think it isn't about hiding or burying the lead when you're using long form. It's about thinking in terms of the user. What would make this experience even better than just serving up that one thing?
Yeah. Again, kind of like you talked about, getting them to the end of the blog article in a contextualized call to action, looking at the bigger picture and setting yourself up for those 1-2 punches, if you will. Not that we want to beat up our site visitors in any way, but there's combinations that can have exponential impact is the theme that I see in the strategy that you guys have executed at CoSchedule. Before we wrap up today, Nathan, I would love for you to share, a couple of lessons learned real quick. What are some things that you wish you had known? Obviously, you guys have had tremendous success in building an audience, turning those into subscribers, turning those into customers. But what are a few things that you really wish you maybe would have known in the early days before really setting out on this journey?
For marketers, I think it's easy for us to, we kind of get this traffic on and we look at those page views and it makes us feel good right away. Or even if you are to the point where you're turning that traffic into subscribers and you're looking at that and it makes you smile a little bit. What I have learned over the years is that context is actually king. It's not content. And we should have learned that from search engine results, actually. When people search for something, what do they actually want? Well, that doesn't end once you get their email address. Use their what they've visited or what they've opened to provide that content within context to their experience. It doesn't mean not ever selling to them, but to use what they have done to provide the right sorts of messaging that will help them lead them down that path towards sales. So thinking about marketing automation, thinking about segmenting. In terms of old school marketing, the term email blasts needs to die. That is not going to be a thing moving forward that will be successful, actually. Like you can do it, but it's not going to work. So in the realm of like customization and personalization, the very first thing that I wish I would have done from the get-go is think about marketing automation, dynamic websites, segmentation, and delivering the experiences that people want most.
Absolutely. Again, it goes back to what you talked about earlier in creating content that people actually want to consume. Now taking it to the next level, thinking about their entire experience, not just, the quote unquote buyer's journey of, are they at awareness or consideration, but what granularly has their experience been like? And the technology is getting such that we can do much better personalization than, hey, Nathan, see your head of marketing at CoSchedule. That obviously sounds like a robot. So I love this theme of thinking about the buyer first, and it's the tactics that you're sharing to actually implement into all of your content marketing efforts, Nathan. This has been a fantastic conversation, man. If anybody listening to this would like to stay connected with you, reach out or find you for any other reason, what's the best way for them to get in touch, man?
Yeah, definitely go to CoSchedule.com. Otherwise, you can always find me on LinkedIn or Twitter at NJ Ellering or Nathan Ellering on LinkedIn. We can chat, talk shop.
Awesome. Nathan, this has been a great conversation, man. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
Yeah, thanks, Logan. I really appreciate it.
Digital marketing agencies have a tough job. You have to stay on top of the latest marketing strategies for your clients and your agency. What if there was a way you could address both at the same time? Imagine your agency putting out content with greater quality and quantity. Envision bringing your clients a turnkey solution for one of B2B marketing's fastest growing media strategies, podcasting. You know all those clients asking for your help with their account-based marketing efforts? Picture being the first to bring them the idea of content-based networking, showing them the proven strategy for breaking into their most coveted accounts. Here's the concept. Sweetfish Media is looking to work with a limited number of innovative agencies interested in a new partnership model. We produce a podcast for your agency. You introduce the power of podcasting and Sweetfish services to your clients. Everybody wins. Learn more at sweetfishpartners.com.